black women and women of colour, we do look younger. We do present ourselves younger. Doesn't necessarily mean what's going on inside is matching up to that. So when you often go to the doctors, and I remember the first time I recognised when I had perimenopausal symptoms, first of all, the judgment was how I looked my appearance-wise. I look fit. I was actually pre-diabetic.
Wow.
So thank goodness that I advocated for myself. And one of the messages we really want to push to people is, regardless of how great you look on the outside, get the inside checked.
I do think we're living in a time where everything online is so polished. You're going through these kind of like beauty routines. What about having agency over your health?
Absolutely. 7 years ago, we didn't hear this word perimenopause. It was, what is wrong with you? Press came towards me because I was speaking up on behalf of many women of colour, getting rid of that shame of, do you know what, guys? Forget this strong black woman title that you give us. This is a vulnerable woman that needs support. I was a girl that was sponsored by Nike, sponsored by Lucozade. There's no way that I could ever come out and say I was in an abusive relationship. So you hide that. You hide that shame.
How do we get rid of shame?
By letting people know that there is no shame in being in an abusive relationship. There is no shame in going through menopause. There is no shame in being type 2 diabetic. We are all doing our very best. And sometimes it's not enough. It's our best.
Oh, it's made me emotional. Today I'm joined by the one and only Michelle Griffith Robinson. Welcome to Hormones and Heroines.
Thank you so much for having me, babes.
Do you know what? I am delighted that you agreed to do this, because I always pride myself as someone who has a phone book full of people who there's only one of them. And you are a real one of one. And I want to just take this opportunity to just let people know how we met, because it leads beautifully into a lot of what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So I won't go too much into detail because it will take too long. But basically, I was experiencing what I believe at the time was side effects to a fertility drug. Okay. And overnight, I felt like I had severe menopausal symptoms. And when you look up this drug, that can sometimes happen. And I was so upset on so many levels, because at the time I was like trying to maybe have another baby, hence the drugs. And then I was like, I felt this immense sense of like shame. I didn't know who to speak to. And I was like, okay, Michelle and I have always connected on socials. You're always spreading so much positivity. And I knew that you were a menopause ambassador. And I just instantly felt like there would be a safe space if we spoke on the phone, even though I don't think we ever had spoken on the phone.
No, we hadn't.
So I literally slid into your DMs and I was like, help.
And I appreciate those type of comments, genuinely, Sarah, because again, whilst I went into this space was because there wasn't enough women of colour, black women speaking about their menopausal symptoms and perimenopausal symptoms. So the fact that somebody like yourself, you know, who we look up to, you know, we see on TV, we see on radio, we see on the gram, reaching out to me, I was like, I'm reaching the places and the people that I need to reach.
And were you surprised that I'd, you know, kind of reached out in a way where I just felt total shock? Or is this something that you're seeing a lot of?
To be honest with you, that particular year that you did reach out to me, I probably had 3 or 4 people, one of them a male footballer as well, who had reached out to me about his wife as well.
Wow.
So, yeah, surprise, yes. It's not something that I can say often happens, but you wasn't the first. And that just goes to show you that how much work needs to be done out there, why people feel they need to reach out to me. And I always caveat it by saying I am not a medical professional, but what I am is a person that will really want to stand up for women's rights and a health advocate. And that's what I tend to do.
I've got a question for you that I think could be quite interesting, because I don't really hear this spoken about. In terms of women of colour, often, you know, we look younger than our age. I think it can be a bit disconcerting if you're being told that you look younger. You look in the mirror, you have an identity that you connect with about maybe, you know, I'm in my 40s and maybe I think I still feel 36, 37, whatever. Everybody's got their own kind of idea of that. And then your body's telling you something different, especially if you're going through like early perimenopause or early menopause. What's your thoughts on that? Because you're in your 50s and what?
I think the thing about that is, again, with black women and women of colour, because we do look younger, we do present ourselves younger. And in terms of appearance-wise, doesn't necessarily mean what's going on inside is matching up to that. So when you often go to the doctors, and I remember the first time I recognised when I had perimenopausal symptoms, I walked into the doctor's surgery, I had on my lycra, and I said, look, I'm bleeding a lot. I'm bleeding a lot. I really, I don't know what's going on. And he said to me, you're not diabetic. You're too fit for that. First of all, the judgment was how I looked my appearance-wise. I look fit. I was actually pre-diabetic.
Wow.
I was pre-diabetic, and that was 2018 when I realised that I was going through perimenopausal symptoms. That was irregular bleeding, lots of clotting. Sorry, too much information, but things that people need to hear.
No, we need to hear it.
And the irrational behaviour. And that was from his first judgment was, you're not diabetic. So I won't even bother looking into that. And actually it turned out I was pre-diabetic. So thank goodness that I advocated for myself. And one of the messages we really want to push to people is, regardless of how great you look on the outside, get the inside checked. Get those blood tests, the same way like how you go and get your hair done, your nails done routinely. Every 6 months, I go and get my HbA1c, which is a diabetic check. I get my bloods checked. I get my cholesterol checked, because all of these things are compromised when your hormones are fluctuating.
Do you know what? It's so interesting that you say that, because I do think we're living in a time where everything online is so polished. Everybody's all about the looks.
Yeah.
And I do think we lose sight then of, okay, you're going through these kind of like beauty routines. What about having agency over your health?
Absolutely. And I think, Sarah, that's exactly right. We have to remember when we're seeing things online of people looking great or doing whatever they do, and I'm all for people doing what makes them feel great. If you don't want to eat, if you want to eat, if you don't want to move. But my biggest message will be, you have to advocate for yourself. One size doesn't fit all.
What does that mean?
When I say advocate, speak up for yourself. Do your own research, get your resources, fill up your toolbox so that you can then go in and say, right, I tried that, it didn't work for me. I tried that, it worked for me. I'm going to go and get some help because I need it. Rather than just sitting there quiet and mute, which is for so many years, Black women, women of colour have just said, let me just get on with it. I ain't just getting on with nothing. Life's too short. I want to live it to the best of my abilities. And I want to fill up my toolbox with the information that's going to make me thrive at this stage of my life.
And why, when the doctor said you can't be diabetic, first of all, it's shameful when people in the healthcare profession make sweeping judgments and dangerous. And don't get me wrong, there's loads of amazing doctors out there. But when they said that, and you're talking about your toolbox to advocate for yourself, what made you think, actually, no?
I think for me it was, I'm an Olympian. I know what it's like to look after my body. I know what being on my A game looks like. I wasn't on my A game. In 2018, I was gaining weight. I was quite unhappy with who I am. And I don't mean who I am in terms of the person who I am, who I was becoming. I was arguing with my husband a lot. I didn't want sex with my husband. I didn't feel like I was in a very loving relationship. So for me, it was, what is going on underneath all of this? There must be more to it. And plus the bleeding. So I had the emotional side of things and the health side of things. There wasn't marrying up. So that's when I chose to take, to pay attention. And my husband was very grateful that I went. He kept saying, Mish, what's wrong? You're not being yourself. Bearing in mind, 7 years ago, we didn't hear this word perimenopause. Remember, this is now a word that I'm grateful that we can see. We didn't know about menopause. It was, what is wrong with you? And that's when I started speaking up. And then obviously more and more press came towards me because I was speaking up on behalf of many women, but many women of colour, getting rid of that shame of, do you know what, guys? Forget this strong Black woman title that you give us. This is a vulnerable woman that needs support.
Let's talk about that word shame. I think it is such an important word. I actually saw a psychiatrist recently off the back of a well woman check, because I do the same. Once a year. My husband, who works in sport, he gets like a well man check, and then I got the same. And I was referred to a psychiatrist because of things that I'd spoken about, intrusive thoughts. I'd already been diagnosed with OCD, etc. And 45 minutes, an hour after the conversation with him, and I thought he was going to go ADHD, this and that, all the things that I presume. And he said, I think that you live a shame-based existence and you have low-level anxiety that's above average, and it's down to childhood trauma. And he knew that I was adopted, even though I don't even remember being adopted. So it's like something that if someone else who wasn't a psychiatrist that's really revered had told me, I'd go, well, I don't remember that, so you're wrong.
Yeah.
And then he also knew that I lost my dad when I was like 7, 8.
Okay.
So those were potentially the two things he's referring to. And I just thought to myself, shame is such an interesting word because there are so many times where I feel shame and I don't even know why.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your relationship with shame and also why you think, you know, not just in the Black community for women, but women in general. But obviously, if you want to obviously talk about that intersection of race as well.
I think there's a lot of things when you use the word shame. I've spoken about it in the past that I was in abusive relationships. And there was shame with that. Why I didn't speak up before. I was the Olympian. I was a girl that was sponsored by Nike, sponsored by Lucozade. There's no way that I could ever come out and say I was in an abusive relationship. So you hide that. You hide that shame. You hide it from your parents, from your friends, from your community. And this is not a Black or a white or a queer thing. This is you're just hiding it because you feel you're a level of responsibility for not coming out of that relationship. And that's where shame in that instance comes from. When you're talking about shame in terms of menopause and health conditions, we are sometimes blamed for, just why are you making a big deal about menopause? Just get on with it like most people did. So there's a lot of cultural shame, which we do have to identify. And that's where shame with diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and that's been spoken about again, type 1 diabetes, the shame that that people associate with these conditions or illnesses or circumstances. And I think as soon as we get rid of that shame, we can start to live a life of hope and prosperity.
How do we get rid of shame?
By letting people know that there is no shame in being in an abusive relationship. There is no shame in going through menopause. There is no shame in being type 2 diabetic. We are all doing our very best. And sometimes it's not enough. It's our best. It's our best.
Oh, it's made me emotional.
Because that's the reality, Sarah. It's our best. We can't help the fact that we came from childhood trauma. But what we can do is help that in the future, we can pave the way for our children, our kings, our queens, and get rid of the shame. And that's where the drive comes from. I want to speak up so that my 2 beautiful daughters and my beautiful, handsome son can live a life without shame. They can understand that you can make errors and mistakes, but they don't have to live with you.
It's almost like name and shame the shame, isn't it?
Name and shame the shame, and shame the people that try and shame you.
Absolutely. What would you say to your younger self that got into the abusive relationships that you got into, and how old were you at the time?
I was 15, and there was no physical abuse. 16, no physical abuse. 17, the physical abuse started. And probably...
Is this a different relationship?
Same relationship. I was with him till I was 21.
Right.
Probably... Why did I stay with him? Or why did I... familiarity. I like that security. And sometimes it's safer to stay in these. You feel more safe in those environments than out of those environments. And then I repeated the same cycle when I was 24 till I was 30. And of course I knew it wasn't right. But again, conditioning, deprogramming those behaviours. And hence why I'm an ambassador for Women's Aid. And on my 30th birthday, and I speak about this a lot, is when the tides turned and I found the strength to walk away. Because nothing happens. My mum has an amazing saying, nothing happens before it's time. So I walked away from that relationship, and it took time. I didn't take time to walk away from the relationship. It took time for me to break the cycle. I then met Matt, my beautiful husband, and I had to go into therapy for 2.5 years, which I remember my brother saying to me, my eldest brother saying to me, not too long ago, a couple of years ago, Mish, I can't believe you never told us about those 2 guys. I never told my brothers. I've got 3 older brothers. Trust me. I can tell you guys now, listening in, my 3 brothers would have changed that narrative. But I didn't want them to get into any trouble. I wanted to do it myself without bringing anybody else into it. But I'm grateful and I'm thankful that I found the strength to come out the other side. And I'm there to talk about, why we stay in these relationships. But again, I'm also there to say more needs to be done in educating women and girls to know the red flags in these relationships. And fortunately, I came away with no children from these partners, unscathed financially. Because remember, when we talk about abuse, people think about the physical abuse, but there's an emotional, there's a spiritual, there's a financial, there's coercive control. There's a lot. And then it's a bit like with hormones and perimenopause, there's umpteen symptoms that you never know about. And until you're in it and you think, oh my gosh, then somebody else says, that's that. Yeah, that was that. And that's the thing with abuse as well. You hear more and more people saying, I never realized that until so-and-so highlighted that as that's abuse as well.
So when you talk about symptoms, do you mean red flags or what do you
Red
mean?
flags. I talk about red flags. So the red flags in terms of, oh babe, don't go using them. I'm talking about abusive relationships here, guys. So listening to me really carefully here. In a relationship, the red flags would be that I noticed, oh, don't get out with your friends tonight. I booked us a trip to Paris. Love bombing. Trying to outdo. So you think, oh, actually, no, I won't get out with my girlfriends. He's treated me to this. He's bought me this. Oh, we're going here. We're going to the theatre. Oh, we're going here. They're red flags. Because if you're in a loving relationship and you've already booked something, your partner will say, babes, I know you're going out with your girls tonight, but next week, can I book us to go here? Or, how do you feel about that? You've got to have a voice. Fortunately, my girls are so with it. And their dad is so empowering. And we have these conversations. And I only really told my eldest daughter about 3-4 years ago about what I went through. And she was astonished. She was like, Mum, what you, Mummy? Mummy, no. Mummy, you. Mummy, are you serious, Mama Nina? I said, yes, baby. She's like, Mummy. And I was just like, it's okay. She said, does my dad know? I said, yes, Daddy knows.
And is that because, and I'd like to in a minute return to like some more red flags for people to kind of like educate themselves or bring awareness to a current relationship. But is that because as well, you are so strong and you have such a strong personality and you have been so successful and continue to be that often I think when you are a woman who is, who has a great career and who is kind of like loud, confident, chatty, effervescent, that people can't imagine that you would be behind the scenes.
There you go.
You've
named it all in one. They're loud, confident, bubbly. I don't really like the word loud. I'm going to change that. The bubbly, effervescent, as you say. Confident lady that smiles a lot, brings people in, raises the energy in the room. There's no way she could be going behind doors in a very abusive relationship. There's no way that's happening to her. So I want to raise those red flags that it can happen to absolutely anybody. Nobody's exempt. But what we do know is every woman and child deserves to be free from abuse globally. So it's my job, as well as everybody else's job, to make sure when we see signs of this, we protect these women and girls. And that's female genital mutilation, child marriages, it's everything. We're not just talking about the physical abuse, it's collectively. We need this. And that's my role. My role is to speak up for those who are not often heard and seen. And that's why I do the roles I do. So I do it not because I've got so much time on my hands, because it's important for me to pave the way for the future.
Would you be able to share about how bad things got before you made a change? So that if anybody else is currently in a situation that they think is impossible to get out of, they can maybe see some light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the worst situations for me was people talk about the physical abuse. And I remember when I was 19, I was in Portugal. I think I was 19. And this person had punched me in my face. And my best friend just said to me, little Mish, just said to me last week, Mish, that day I felt helpless. And I wanted to kill him. I wanted to fight him. I felt like I couldn't do anything.
And she was there.
And she said she wasn't there to see it. She just saw the repercussions. She saw the aftermath. And I just said, I'm just prayed that my brothers wasn't there, because it would have been, like I said, a very different thing. And that was when I thought, what am I doing here? But you still stay. So, women that are listening who are potentially in difficult situations, you do stay. until you know the time is right for you to leave safely. So it is about mapping. And again, I kind of correlate it a lot to writing things down with your hormones. Write down the journey so you can then look back and say, it's not your imagination, that you do need to get some support. You need to get some help so you can get out. And that's the same with your hormones. Write down your path of your hormones, what's going on with you, and before it gets too bad, so you can get the support you need.
And then from an emotional abuse standpoint, because obviously, like you say, these things aren't always physical.
No, they're not always physical. Emotionally, it lives with you. There's times when I've demonstrated that level of I'm too strong and showing that I'm strong in this marriage and everything else with Matt. And I know where that's come from. That's come from my past and having to recognize not to spill that over into my future. So there is light at the end of the tunnel, but you've got to do the work yourself.
And if we're trying to recognize emotional abuse, what does that look like?
Emotional abuse would be, why are you wearing that dress? And one of the occasions, the 30th birthday one, which is an amazing one for me. And I smile when I'm talking about this because it was the straw that broke the camel's back. It's my 30th birthday party, huge party. I have got people come from all over. It was just it's going to be a wicked night. I had my little black dress. I don't know if you guys remember the make Lipsy.
Oh, yeah.
There's a little brand called from Lipsy and a little one shoulder. Hair was done, looking crisp. And he said, "You wearing that tonight?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "If you wear that, I'm not coming to your party. You look like a slut." And that's the emotional abuse when we're talking about the name calling. But because now I'm so used to being in this situation, that wasn't too bad in my opinion back then. Do you know what I mean?
Start to normalise it.
That's the problem. And he didn't come to my party because I wore that dress. And that's control. But we're the control.
And punishment.
And punish. It's like punishing you. You wear that and I'll show you again. I'm like, what? Pay my good money for my dress. I'm going to my party in my dress. But where the problem came was then, whilst I'm at the party, then everyone's asking where he was. So then I go to the DJ and I say, he's not coming. Can you make an announcement? Tell everybody to enjoy themselves. It's Michelle's 30th birthday party. Can you please tell them not to ask her any more questions, just have a wicked time? So I took the control back.
Wow.
Just from that little bit of that conversation. The next day, call it October the 7th. That next day was a Sunday. I rang Little Mish, and I talk a lot about Little Mish. I told her about this recently. I did a whole masterclass on confidence for Beauty Beat. And she was in the audience. I called her out about being one of my biggest champions and supporters. And I called her and I said, I'm leaving him. She said, what's different this time from all the other times you said you're leaving him? Remember that question. What's different this time from all the other times you say you're leaving him? And I said to her, I feel ready. And I did. Next day, I rang my lawyer. I rang a financial advisor because we had a flat together.
Wow.
And I said, you need to help me. I want to keep my flat. It's in joint names, but I don't know how to go about it. And again, this is about women reaching out for support and recognizing we should not have all the answers. But if you've got a network of people around you, draw on them because they can help you. They can empower you to make good decisions. And I spoke to my financial advisor. He said, you're not quite earning enough money. And I was an Olympic athlete at the time. And, I'm hustling a little bit. But I had my own personal training company. And I was like, make me earn enough money. And he said, tell me about your prediction, how you're going to earn money. And by the grace of God, I've had that flat 25 years now.
And it's like a symbol of you breaking free and of your independence.
Breaking free. And actually, it caused a little bit of disharmony in my relationship with Matt because Matthew said, Mish, you keep saying your flat, your flat. We're married, babe. We're 23 years in. I said, it's still my flat because it's hard to relinquish.
Of course.
But I have relinquished that. And that's part of the therapy of me letting go of that chapter.
Yeah.
So I think in the next few years, next 1 or 2 years, I think I will sell our flat.
Yeah.
Because it's not our flat. I'm married to Matt.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily need that anymore.
I don't need it anymore. I don't need my flat because I've let go of that hurt that came with that flat. But I'm grateful that I kept hold of it. So for anybody out there listening, there is light at the end of the tunnel. You can have that romantic life. You can have the relationship that you deserve, but you do have to work on you so you don't keep bringing that shit, excuse my language, into the next relationship and the next relationship and the next relationship.
Actually, that's a good point. I want to quickly go over two things in terms of looking after yourself mentally and spiritually so that you don't attract it in.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that it's anyone's fault, but just like that you're not vulnerable.
Yeah.
What are some key things that I think you have to be aware of in terms of how you're feeling as a person that would prevent you from being susceptible to those kinds of relationships? And then I also want to just kind of, summarize the red flags to look out for if you then end up in a relationship with somebody.
So one question at a time, because remember I'm perimenopausal, so you can't keep banging these questions to me. Babe.
Sorry, one at a time. Right. So first of all, I'd love to know, as women and as individuals, what should we be conscious of that keeps us strong spiritually and mentally that would perhaps protect us from inviting people like this in?
I think it's about knowing your worth. It comes down quite quickly down to knowing your worth. And what would you say? I mean, I'm a life coach. So it would be, what would you say to your best friend if they were going through this? And it would be, you'd say to your best friend, you know what, maybe it's time to look at, do you think you deserve this treatment? So it's about recognizing, going back to your worth at all stages. I don't deserve to be treated like this. So what am I going to do about it? Yeah. So what am I going to do about it? Or I don't like this situation. So what's the better alternative? And it's always asking those simple questions, which now I know. And so I want to be able to give that to other women as tools of, do you think you deserve to be in this situation? If the answer is no, nobody ever deserves to be. So what's an alternative? Well, maybe you have to start from the bottom again to get out. Maybe I did have to sell my flat, to get away from this. So it's recognizing your worth is number one, knowing your worth. And then I think the second thing is really doing your due diligence into these people that are out there. There's a lot of con artists out there. There's a lot of people that can, pull the wool over your eyes. So it comes back down to knowing who you are and your worth and your value. And if somebody's not treating you with respect, maybe it's about saying to them, look, whoa. What's going on here? But having that level of confidence to have that conversation with the person. Because everybody comes with some baggage. Let's not pretend here.
Yeah.
Everybody comes with a level of baggage, good and bad, heavy bags, suitcases, overweight baggage. Everyone comes with some form of baggage. But it's how that manages to infiltrate through to relationships, because it can be damaging.
And I would like to add to that as well, that kind of cliche, if someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Amen. If someone shows you who they are the first time, trust me, believe them.
Yeah, because I think that the amount of times that I have sensed, I think I'm quite intuitive, and I've not always given myself the credit for that.
Give yourself the credit, gut.
And something will happen and I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, no, but I want to have a family and I'm running out of time. There's that.
And there's that. And there's that. That's why I want to say
let's talk about that.
We need to really, I mean, I'm getting excited talking about this because I know so many women will be like 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, thinking, oh my gosh, I haven't found the right one yet.
It's a very vulnerable time for
very
the wrong relationship.
Amen. Listen, you pick up these scumbags out there who you're with. And I'm not, this is something that I've never spoken about on a podcast. But I think, Sarah, it's the right time and I feel comfortable in your space to share this. I was 27 when I had an abortion. And I felt it was the right decision for me because I knew that if I had this baby with this person, that was going to be a life that wouldn't have been conducive for me in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pro-choice. So it's my choice. I remember my mum saying to me, Michelle, it was 1997, Michelle, you sure you're going to have an abortion? But I couldn't really tell her why. I said, Mommy, I blamed it on my career, that, it was my career and my athletics. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that. I could have had a baby then with my career. But I knew that if I had a baby with this abuser, I'd be stuck with him for the rest of my life. So ladies, it's better to be content on your own than be discontent with someone else.
Yeah, wow. That really landed. Especially because, if you actually prevent
why would you bring a baby into this situation where it's volatile, it's abusive, the environment is not going to make that child thrive? I'd rather go and get a sperm donor.
Yeah. No.
I'd rather do that.
That's way better.
Way better. Or I'd rather come to an agreement with a friend.
Yeah.
You know what, babes? We've got an agreement here. Yeah, you're a lovely person. I'd rather do that than be in an abusive relationship. And I know, don't get me wrong, this is the ideal where you've got the choice. And I know we get in ourselves in a muddle sometimes and where you end up being pregnant with somebody that's not great. You need to stand, because I hear stories all the time of women running away from these situations, and that man just follows them and tracks them and makes their life hellish.
It's horrific. And when you have a child with somebody, and
Oh
yes,
my
don't get me wrong, relationships happen, they don't.
They do.
Co-parent, but when somebody is
when
emotionally,
physically abusive, it's time to, So we've got that level of there. Plus, then you want to try and have a family. That's a difficult time, and you said it earlier. You're vulnerable.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're looking through rose-colored glasses.
100%, and the pressure is on us. And it's a real pressure because our biological clock is not that of a man's,
Yeah,
Of course. And I'd add to that as well as something for someone's toolbox that, like, for me personally, I was in a relationship that did sort of err on the side of abusive not so long ago, luckily before I met Brian. But the great thing for me was how I managed to get out of that pretty quick and not revisit it was I wasn't drinking anymore.
There you go.
Sobriety saved me, because back in the days in my 20s, I would have gone back and back and back and back and back and back. And the reason I didn't was because the sobriety allowed me to be like, and I did actually miss this person. And then you feel shame because you're missing a person who's like treating you like rubbish, and they're grabbing you and they're scarring you, whatever. And I just think the sobriety just stopped me from wasting time. And
clarity.
And this might sound a bit of a controversial statement. I'm not sure, because a lot of the time we tell women you've got all the time in the world. We don't.
No, we don't.
And also I want to caveat that with saying, like, blood isn't always thicker than water. There's loads of ways of making a family. So I'm not saying you have to always be on job with a biological clock.
Yeah.
But like when I had Bonnie, my second child, 6 months later, that was the first signs for me of perimenopause. Imagine if I'd have wasted time with this person.
Absolutely.
And obviously there's two sides to every story.
Of course, there's three actually. Your side, their side,
and the truth. Right, exactly. But regardless, like, we weren't right for each other. So it was good for him and for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would have wasted time. Yeah. And what then? Now I can't have a child because I've wasted too much time with the wrong person.
And a lot of women do waste time.
Yeah, so don't waste time is also
that's got to be a key thing. Don't waste time. If you think they're not right for you, they're not right for you. So go with your gut. If you think they're not right, they're not right for you. Regarding your hormones, we keep ticking, babes. We're ticking. Every day we wake up, we give thanks, we give gratitude, but we also have to recognize that our biological clock is also ticking. Women can go into POI, premature ovarian insufficiency, quite young. So get perimenopausal symptoms quite young. So we of course it's rare, but it's not as rare as you think. So again, this would be for listeners out there to check out themselves, their hormones, check out any symptoms of endometriosis, adenomyosis, all of those things. It's really important for women to get themselves checked over properly, especially if you're thinking about having a family as well. Get yourself checked over properly. And if you've had your family or you choose not to have children, make sure you know what's coming next. And I have to make sure I really push here strength training for women. It's important for women to strength train through the next phase of their life. 35 onwards, we start to deplete. We lose our muscle mass. So 35-year-old women onwards, keep strength training as part of your toolbox.
Because do you know what? There's so many areas that I want to get into. But like, one of the things I'll say before I forget is that two of my friends actually, who are now in their late 40s, said to me that in their early 40s, there were signs of perimenopause. They ignored them, didn't take HRT. And no, HRT is not for everyone.
Yeah.
Hormone replacement treatment, i.e. could be estrogen and progesterone, gel, tablets, etc. And both of them now then ended up like with broken bones.
Osteoporosis,
things like that. So bone density, really important. And I recently found out that, like pounding the bones, so like running, and so people can't always do that because of joints, but strength training,
squatting whilst the kettle's boiling, squatting down, doing lunges, all of these things, step ups on your stairs. If you've got stairs, if you've got a little step in your kitchen, stepping up and down, all of that is helping to promote good bone health.
And why is that? Is it because the the bone marrow or the bone cells start to recreate themselves?
What you're doing, you're adding to it. Because we're losing it so quickly. All we're doing is we're adding to it by stepping up onto a box, stepping off the step. So that's why sometimes good to even just walking up the stairs.
So is it impact and weight training?
It's impact and weight training, but making sure it's healthy impact and weight. And there's so much noise out there, which can sometimes be very confusing for people. And that's why they don't know where to start. So my first thing would be, there's a lot of people out there that you can follow, but most importantly, you can start at home by just saying, do you know what? I'm going to try 3 sets of 10 squats with my own body weight. Then I'm going to add on 3 sets of 10 squats with a 5 kilogram weight. Feet shoulder width apart, bum to the floor as much as you can. Safe, controlled movement. Movement is medicine.
And this is because, just so people aren't confused, basically, as we get older, we lose bone density. We're at risk of things like osteoporosis, etc. And so, therefore, it's really key that we're looking after our bone density.
Looking after our bone density, because that prevents us from getting brittle bones as we grow older. And the estrogen is depleting. Estrogen depletes after this time, and the estrogen, progesterone, all of those two hormones are depleting. So we do need strength training as well as whatever you choose to take to help us. So if you choose not to take hormone replacement therapy, that's okay. If you choose that. For me, I'm on HRT, I'm on estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. It gives me motivation, it gives me stronger bones, it gives me good heart health. That's for me, Michelle Griffith Robinson. One size doesn't fit all. There's some women that unfortunately can't take it, and that's okay as well. But for you, strength training, everyone can do strength training. Everyone can be fitter. Everyone can keep walking. Everyone can keep moving. Everyone can increase their protein levels as well, because higher protein also helps with muscle mass as well.
And this is a good message for women, in their 30s, getting ready for the 40s.
Absolutely.
Because, boy, when I hit 40 and then I started going through everything, I was like, I can't tolerate sugar.
Yeah.
My sleep was already bad. It's even worse.
Yeah.
There were so many things that I wish, now I'm sort of getting on top of stuff. But I wish I'd have thought in my 30s, right, let me make sure that I'm really on job with trying to reduce. I mean, I'm glad I stopped drinking.
Yeah. I was just going to say to you, because drinking is a big thing that I think more of us need to talk about.
Yeah.
They say, and this is, Dr. Naomi Potter will really advocate for this, who's another one that I follow, and Dr. Juliet Balfour and Dr. Nagat, all great women for you guys to look out for. Menopause doctors. Dr. Aziza Cisse, they will all turn around and say, reducing your drinking will have a massive influence on your next stage of your life. So some women didn't hear this, that having 2 glasses of wine a night actually promotes more chance of having breast cancer than taking HRT.
Wow.
And I'm no doctor. I'm just telling you what they've said.
Well, the research is out there at the end.
Because the research is there. So, going sober might not be for everybody, but cutting down, and I mean cutting significantly down, the sugars, we don't need those extra sugars. Yeah, we don't need them. We want clarity. It helps with less brain fog when you've got no alcohol in your system. All of these things help you in the long run. And you mentioned there about having clarity as well, Sarah. How long have you been sober from alcohol?
2017. So, the irony of clarity, and then I can't remember. No, 8 years, 8.5 years. Yeah, now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So actually, you invested in yourself from way back, because 8 years, being 36 years old, 37 years old.
I was 35.
That's serious, babe. You should congratulate yourself for that, Sarah. No, you should. No, honestly, and we're not, because you've actually helped yourself significantly with your brain, with your body, and with your vision of where you want to go. And it's not clouded by, I've had too many glasses of Prosecco or champagne. And I'm not shouting anybody down.
No.
I'm not here to put anybody down.
It's not about shaming anyone. No.
It's not shaming anyone.
That's just the truth of my truth.
It's the truth of your truth that a lot of us need to hear. I have 1 or 2 glasses a month, if I'm lucky. But I came from a background of a lot of alcohol. That I can see the impact of people drinking around me. So I've got a slightly distorted version of what alcohol can do.
But I don't even think I don't even think it's distorted, because I think it's reality. I mean, from my personal experience, and again, this might sound controversial, but it's just actually what happened. Someone said to me, you're 35. Do you want to be the 40-year-old falling out of the club? Now, I'm not saying that to shame any woman who's raving, who's doing. For me personally, though, I had an idea of what I wanted. From my life and starting a family. And I just thought, for me, as somebody who has quite an addictive personality, very all or nothing, I can't just have one or two a month. I can't just have one or two a month, because I think, what's the point of that? I want to get wasted. So it worked. Now, you are a menopause ambassador. Hence why I got in contact with you when I was going through all of these symptoms that I found really embarrassing. And I felt like, we're in an age now where I cannot believe that I felt like there wasn't enough out there in terms of even speaking. I would go and see a private doctor, a one-off appointment, a place where I used to go and get bloods done. And I'd go and see this doctor, and they were just looking at me like clueless. And I was just like, I felt so embarrassed. And then I was like lying, trying to prescribe myself HRT. Shouldn't be happening. But things are changing.
See why.
And because you start to have these symptoms and you lose your mind. So I want to rattle through some symptoms. Now, obviously, we've said you're not a doctor.
No.
And we are telling people, go and see a doctor or a menopause specialist. Get the advice. But in terms of some symptoms that are, could be have someone feeling quite shameful or just disconcerting and interrupting their day in their life, I'm going to rattle through some, and I'd love to know your take on it, even from just a personal experience level.
Sure.
Hot flashes.
Never had one in my life.
Wow, I've had loads.
Never had one in my life. Yeah, it's interesting. Never had one. And that's the thing. The first thing that when people spoke about menopause and menopausal symptoms, hot flashes came out as number one thing that they spoke about, but not every woman has them.
Not every woman has them.
Yeah.
For me personally, when I felt one, I then thought, because I'd have people joke with me about a woman who's like 50-something and say, oh, she's probably menopausal. And I think I'm having hot flashes in my early 40s, and I felt a huge sense of embarrassment around it.
It's embarrassment. I've heard women talk about it, though, and say that, they're drenched. They felt embarrassed. It made them feel really dirty. Didn't make them feel good. It knocked their confidence. So I can truly empathize with it, although I haven't myself experienced hot flashes.
Okay, let me move on. Vaginal dryness.
Yep. Not with intercourse. I didn't have vaginal dryness with intercourse at all. But where I have had more UTIs over the 10 years was because of the lack of estrogen. So a little tip for everybody. It's been proven now, everybody can take vaginal estrogen, despite whether they can take estrogen, the gel or patches, they can all have vaginal estrogen below.
Even people who are at risk?
Even people at risk of cancers can. They can, of course, if it's cervical, then it's probably different. But everyone can take vaginal estrogen. So I take a vaginal estrogen 2 or 3 times a week.
And is that a pessary or cream?
It's a pessary that I take. And apparently there's a vaginal estrogen string, which I'm going to investigate, because apparently that can go in for 3 months and then you take it out and then you put a new one in. That helps UTIs and the urge. You know that urgency when you want to go wee? You feel like you're going to wet your knickers? It reduces that. So as well as so it helps with the lubrication of your vagina, your health of your vagina, as well as the urgency to go wee.
If you are feeling those sort of symptoms and you're in a relationship or you've just met someone, how do you navigate, as somebody who's been in a marriage for so long with an amazing man? And I know obviously we all have our ups and downs.
Of course, completely. Hello.
But, what would you say to a woman who is either dating or they're in a relationship and they are feeling things that they feel embarrassed about, like vaginal dryness, and all of a sudden they don't feel like the young self anymore.
Yeah.
And they're worried that their other half is going to run off with someone younger who is like overflowing. It's so
with
real.
The juices that overflow.
Yeah.
Sarah, it's a brilliant question.
What do you do?
Say open conversation. And that's for something for you to be open. And if you're really getting intimate with a person, you should be able to turn around and say to them, do you know what? Sex is painful for me sometimes. Try the different lubricants out there. There are things on the market. I haven't tried them, but apparently there's different things. But I would say that the openness to discuss, and if that person's really got your back and really wants to be with you, they will understand when you say, it hurts, babe, or it's rubbing, or I'm uncomfortable. But you, again, have to find that little bit of, no, I don't want to do this because this is what happens to me. I need your support. And this other way for intimacy, which we mustn't forget.
Yeah.
Sometimes I say to my husband, babes, we don't always have to have you inside of me. Excuse my me being really graphic here.
Yeah.
Just you hugging me, holding me, makes me feel safe. And I feel the love that sometimes I need. And that works both ways as well. So remember, there's different ways and we go through different strengths in our marriages and relationships. So if you're going for like a quiet period, just make sure it's not too quiet for too long.
Right. And what does that mean?
When I mean, like, I would not go 3-4 months without having sex with my husband. That's just a no.
Okay.
So that's just because I love sex. I love sex with Matt. Matt loves sex with his wife. So I would probably say, if I would start.
When you said his wife, I thought, oh no, there's another one. This is
only got
another
me.
chapter now. We've got to talk about
me. So I would say, for me, knowing your sexual health and your normal sexual health for you and sexual relationship for you, I should say. So for me, I know that 2 or 3 times a week, probably normal for me and Matt. But for some women, some couples, I hear once a month is their normal. But if that starts to go into once every 4 months, then you need to start thinking and investigating and being honest with yourselves about that as well.
Okay. Mood swings.
Oh my gosh. Listen, 1 minute I was happy, next minute I wanted to kill him. And I'm an ambassador.
That sounds like most women.
I'm an ambassador for Women's Aid. Excuse me there. Mood swings happen. They happen all the time. They are part of the course. They're like when you're a teenager going through your hormones and you're like, don't talk to me. They happen all the time. It's recognizing, looking out for signs of them, and again, explaining with your partner as well. And your colleagues at work, getting the support. But now the conversations are much more easier now.
Yes.
They're much more easier. And it's not just a female conversation, Sarah. We have to really make sure we bring men into the conversation and workplaces into conversation as well. That mood swings sometimes, and it's not for you to say, oh, you're due on or you're hormonal. It's for you to say, how can I support you at this time?
I think that's the thing. Once we start kind of like contributing to the conversation like we're doing.
How can I support you at this time?
And men start seeing reels and, the algorithms are churning out like
absolutely.
Because I'm seeing a lot of really healthy content from men now saying, if your wife's in perimenopause or your girlfriend, don't say this or don't do that. What about try this?
What about
try that's
absolutely
great
we're getting
content.
the support. We're getting support now.
It's growing. And lack of self-confidence as well.
Oh, it's huge. I probably have, as a life coach, I probably have most of my clients come to me around between 50 and 55, talking about lack of confidence.
I think I'm sure there's women in their 30s, early.
There will be. No, but they won't attribute it down to hormonal experiences there.
Oh, okay.
So I'm saying, of course, I've got clients that are younger than that come with lack of confidence, but I'm talking about impact of hormonal comes to them. The hormone imbalance, that lack of confidence comes to them then.
Yeah.
It comes to them.
Well, for me, it's come even earlier.
Yeah, honestly, lack of confidence, self-esteem, how you show up in the mirror. I look rubbish. I don't look great. I can't drive. I don't feel good at work. And there was a statistic that showed that 1 in 10 women left their jobs.
Of course.
Because they felt inadequate at this stage of their life.
Because 1 minute you feel like you're sharp and you're on it.
Absolutely.
You're kind of articulate. And then you're searching for words.
Brain fog. You don't feel, and then you feel like your comparison is the thief of joy. You're comparing yourself to other women out there. Oh, she's doing this, when in fact, actually, you need to slay in your own lane.
Mm-hmm.
Slay in your lane. Your time will come. I was at an event the other day, and a lady said to me, young black girl. She said she's about 34. She said, "What happens when I think that I should be getting these jobs and I'm not getting them?" And she's not hormonal. She wasn't, there's no hormone insufficiency there. I said, "Why are you comparing yourself to anybody else?" She stopped and she went, "Yeah, you're right." I said, "It's not your time yet. Just keep doing what you're doing."
What does that mean? It's not your time.
It's not your time. It's not your time. Why should it be your time? You've got to work towards that, Sarah. And it doesn't happen.
Let's unpack that though, because you are a coach, and so this is great because now we're going to go into territory that I didn't even think we were going to talk about, but it's great. So, women, and not just women, but obviously this podcast, a lot of the conversation is geared towards women, which I love because I think we do need to talk a lot more about women who are very ambitious. The whole point of this podcast in my mind was for ambitious women who want to have it all. Maybe we can't all at once, but who are navigating the inevitable women's health hormones in the background. Okay. For those
families.
And
Asian families.
Yeah. And
huge.
And also, like you're saying about taboo topics where people have had either miscarriages or terminations or things that they don't want to talk about, but then they've got to show up and perform or be at work. Yeah. And if you've got a client that comes to you and they say, "This is what I want. I feel like I'm banging my head against a brick wall or I'm reaching a glass ceiling and I can't get there." When you talk about timing, What about if someone feels like they have done all the work and they have waited and maybe that person hasn't? What then, from a psychological point of view, what's your take on that?
My take on that is going back to that, and that's a great question, going back to when the girl asked me about that, and I said, it's not your time yet. Keep working on what you're working on.
I like it.
That's what I'm saying. Keep working on what you're working on and make sure you're very precise on where you want to go.
What does that look like?
And that might look like you might have to strip back. You might have to look back and say, actually, am I doing enough? Am I going in the right places? And actually take some time. Because actually what you want, maybe not what you want.
Yeah, boy. That. Do you know what? That is bars. And the reason why I say that is because I remember a few years back, there was something that I thought I wanted because someone else had it.
There you go.
And then as soon as they didn't do it, I was like, I don't actually want that.
There you
and
go.
it was a massive lesson to me because
Massive
I was like,
lesson.
what do you want, Sarah?
What do you actually want, Sarah?
Yeah.
And it would be me saying, what is it we're really talking about here? And when the more I start open, and with coaching is me asking you nice, open questions, but not guiding you with your answers. When I'm mentoring you, I'm sharing a little bit about me, I'm delving a little bit about you. And when you're getting a counselling session, that's somebody going back to your past and trying to bring you up to speed so you can create a different future. But if I'm coaching you, I'm asking you, tell me what that looks like. What
I like the face you just gave then.
Yeah, tell me what it looks like. And it is about holding that space for that person to think about what they really, really want. And when I say it's not your time yet, I don't mean that flippantly at all. I just mean it's not your time yet, but when your time comes, make sure you're ready to deliver.
Rather than getting distracted.
Don't get distracted. So slay in your lane. Concentrate on one step in front of the other. What are you doing differently today than what you did yesterday?
Oh, that's more bars.
Babes, it's the truth, Sarah. What are you doing yesterday that, where's that change coming from? Are you sitting and expecting different results from doing the same thing? Because what does that say? What's a better alternative? So it's about, and this is why I say the importance of journaling. I'm really big on journaling, visualizing, goal setting, manifesting, writing it down, breaking it down, chunking it back.
Chunking it back? What's that one?
So little bite-sized chunks.
Okay.
And taking them saying, okay, what did I do great today? So not looking at the main big goal.
Yeah.
Going back, what did I do great today that will add towards the journey of achieving that goal?
Because as well, it's so interesting, and maybe this will resonate with you. Obviously, you are an athlete and an Olympian. You'll always be an Olympian.
That is true too.
Yeah. And so I've always been athletic, right?
Yeah.
But I've always told myself I've got fast twitch muscle fibers. I'm a sprinter. I don't ever do long distance running.
Yeah.
Stay with me on this one. So my sister-in-law, both of them actually, who are not like super sporty, I started to hear that they were doing like these half marathons. And I said to my husband, what's going on? I want a bit of this.
Yeah.
I just want to be knocking out 5Ks and feeling good about myself. I haven't done one in like 20 years. What's going on? So I joined this runner app.
Okay.
And basically, the reason why I mention it is the premise is they make it so easy in this bite-sized bits. You start off walking for 5 minutes, running. And I was thinking, this is so easy. I might as well run for 2 extra minutes. Before 8 weeks later, I'm now doing 5Ks twice a week.
Love that, Seth.
Like it's nothing. And I'm not even saying that to show off. I feel so proud of myself.
There you go.
I thought I wasn't a runner. Now, I know there's loads of people out there doing 5Ks, but that's not the point.
No.
I feel so proud of myself, and it's because I gave myself these little wins.
And that's what I said about chunking it back.
So how does that relate to what you're saying?
So that relates exactly to what I'm saying. And let's use the 5K. Let's stick with that 5K analogy because it's a good one to use. We're not comparing ourselves to Paula Radcliffe or Dame Kelly Holmes. We're not doing that. We're comparing ourselves to ourselves.
Yes.
And too many of us women compare ourselves to other women that we see on the grid, in the press, in the magazines. Whereas if we turn around and say, what is Michelle doing now from what Michelle was doing last year?
That's the beauty.
That is your golden nugget right now.
Progress feels amazing.
Oh my gosh. And you turn around and I could see, the excitement in your voice when you're saying that. When you said, and now I can run 2 5Ks a week from somebody that couldn't run and somebody that had the narrative of, I've got fast twitch, I can only sprint.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now, you can now do both.
So that was it was like that idea. I can only do
this. And this is why I'm saying to people, break it down to, if that's important to you, you will do it. but take your time. If you want to be on that main stage, take your time. And you might not get that main stage in America, but you might get your main stage in your community church. And that's a win.
Yeah.
So it's understanding where we're going to get our wins from. And those wins will help to develop our confidence, our talent, and showcase. When I did that Beauty Beat event the other day, 350 women of colour doing a confidence masterclass. It felt superb. I rocked that stage.
You did. I saw the clips and I was
Yeah.
like, ooh.
I felt fuzzy. Them women felt me. I felt them. So what's next for MGR? I'm going to host that abroad. I'm going global.
Yes! Global, you know.
I'm going, nothing ain't stopping me. Might not happen next year. Might be the next year. It might happen next month. Who knows? But the fact that I believe in myself, I've got a bigger chance of it happening.
I love that. And I've got a question for you. And I wish I could spend all day talking to you, but obviously we can't. But okay, so I'm not calling bullshit on anything, right? But I just want to ask you some slight nuance though, right?
Of course.
You are an Olympian and you know what it takes to win, but
Yeah.
also really want to win.
Yeah.
But there might have been times in your life where you felt like someone else got an inch on you, right?
Of course.
So how about those people? Because you mentioned the stage in the church,
Yeah.
maybe not the main one.
Yeah.
But like as an athlete though, and as an Olympian, there will be times when you're thinking, nah, I'm not going for second place.
Yeah.
So what do you then say to that person that goes, never mind the church stage,
Yeah.
MGR,
Yeah.
I want that.
Yeah.
So then what do you tell yourself if you feel like you're falling short? Because it's lovely and to say to somebody, you might not get that, but you'll get this. But what if that's not good enough for someone? Psychologically, what do you then tell yourself?
Psychologically, if it's not good. So using the analogy of the Olympic Stadium, I wanted to be at the Olympic Games. I didn't just want to be at the Commonwealth Games. I wanted that next best stage. But sometimes reality is you're not good enough. But that doesn't mean you're a bad person. Doesn't mean you failed.
And it's not shameful.
And it's not shameful.
Shame.
So we got to use that word shame again.
Yeah.
None of that matters. It's your best. I think the important message we have to push on to women, boys, girls, men, if you are doing your best, and your best is 14th in the Olympic Games, that's your best. I'm not Denise Lewis. I don't want to be. I'm not Dame Kelly Holmes.
We love them though.
Of course I love them. Denise is my bona fide. But I don't want to be any of them. I want to be me. And that's my best I could deliver. And that's good enough to me because it was my best. Now, where I'd be disappointed is if I didn't try my best.
Oh, that's another mic drop.
There you go. So if I didn't try my best, I'd be cross looking back on reflection.
I think that's a big one. I think for me, I've always had this thing about like, I want to fulfill my potential. Whenever I'm in a season where I feel like I'm not, I find it painful.
Absolutely, because you're not fulfilling your potential.
Yeah.
And sometimes that might be you sabotaging your own success.
100%.
And that's where you can be cross with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you know you've done your best, you're doing this, you've gone out every morning towards your 5K and you've only ran 32 minutes, but you've done your best, you've eaten well, that's your best, sir.
Yeah.
Don't beat yourself up. I think for too long, too many of us beat ourselves up. We don't celebrate our small wins. We don't celebrate our successes because we go on to the next thing without not holding space for those wins that we have achieved.
And that's a shame, you know.
And that's a shame in itself. Not a shame.
It's a crime.
It's a shame.
It's a crime.
It's a crime that we don't turn around and say,
ourselves.
do you know what? Look how well we've done. Look at me here, a woman 54 years old, working for 4 or 5 charities, 3 phenomenal children, a wonderful husband, survived domestic abuse, but I'm in Parliament. I'm shouting. I'm cheering on people at the sideline. I am proud of me. And I want women that are listening to this to sit down when they listen to this and write down one thing they are proud about.
Pride is basically the antidote to shame.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's amazing. Pride can heal so much.
Pride, and what I say, write it down. Write it down. Just one thing you are proud about. Write it down. Say it in the mirror. And
you've got a very proud like aura as well.
Yeah, I'm truly, truly proud of me, and I know where that comes from. My mum.
Let's talk about your mum before we go, because like you're a gem. You've obviously come from a gem. But there's a few things I want to unpack. So obviously being an athlete, and you were a teenager when you started to be serious, right?
Yeah.
Where did the journey come from? Because as a parent now, and seeing my daughters start to become excited by certain things, whether it's gymnastics, tennis, whatever, and you see little sparks of kind of like talent or enjoyment.
Love that.
And you get excited. And like, I think that my mum wasn't that pushy, but she was amazing because she was always like, so long as you're happy, I don't care if you work in a supermarket. And that's got its place.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
But then I think that I kind of wish that she was more pushy. But then there are some parents that are so pushy.
Too pushy. Absolutely. It's a balance.
How was your mum with you, and how was your talent nurtured?
So my mum just wanted us to be active. My mum came in from Jamaica in 1961, and she was an ambitious woman, very ambitious. She had 4 children, 3 brothers and me, married to my dad, who was a plumber, came over as a bus driver and then was a plumber. My dad was from Barbados and my mother's Jamaican. But why I talk about my mum as my hero, because what I've seen my mum endure and come through, domestic abuse, racism, having 2 degrees, being a ward sister, being NHS for 47 years. I look at her and it's not just what she's achieved in terms of that. It's her mindset that I'm drawn to. She is incredibly positive, which is where I get it from. My mum, and this makes me emotional, my mum lost her leg 3 years ago through diabetic complications. She had an amputated leg. And we thought we were going to lose mommy, and we didn't lose her in the end. Praise God. But just her positivity every day. When I walk in the house and I'm in this dress now, my mum would say to me, Miss Amanda, you look beautiful. So my whole life, my name's Michelle Amanda. I've had my mum filling me with positivity. Michelle, you're talented. You're beautiful. You look great. I'm proud of you. I've had that from dot high. So actually, I've won. Despite all the challenges I've been through, I've got a mum that has championed me. She'd say to people, look at my beautiful daughter. And my mommy, Cicely Hall, is my hero. And she's given me the ability to come onto these podcasts, to speak in Parliament, to stand up for women's rights. Because she said to me, you can always do when it's your time.
Wow. And where do you think that optimism and that resilience came from in the face of all of the adversity that she faced?
Her mother.
Wow.
My grandmother was Cuban, an only child, and her mother was from Costa Rica. So I think my grandmother was a very positive woman, and my grandfather, who was Jamaican Irish, was a very positive man. So my mum was one of 13 children. 2 went to private school. She was one of the 2 that went to private school in Jamaica. So I think she's always had that zest for life, that positivity, and the brains. And I think that nurturing that she gave me, she's always told me, you can do. And when I failed, because we're going to fail, as women, as parents, we're going to fail, she'd say to me, tomorrow's another day.
Wow. And that's the way to parent if you can, right?
Absolutely. It's a way to parent if you can. Tomorrow's another day. And my first book, which I will do in the next 2 to 3 years, will be about positive affirmations from my mama. Because I think these are the things that we need to hear. You didn't do great today, but tomorrow's another day.
How has the upbringing that you've had impacted on you as a parent? I'd love to hear some gems drop from you, because Michelle has a gorgeous husband who's loving, who she's been with for years. She's got gorgeous children who are super successful. I think one has just graduated from Cambridge.
Yeah. Our eldest daughter, Reese, graduated from Cambridge with a double first in politics.
Wow.
Yeah, she's good. She's
I feel
great.
like, and I know we once had a conversation on the phone where we touched on, how to navigate, having potentially successful children. Also then a Black family as well.
Yeah.
We don't see enough kind of like successful Black families where it's just a Black family.
I agree. I agree with that.
It's such an interesting theme.
I think it's
to discuss.
I saw a volatile background. I came from a volatile upbringing, if I'm being really honest. It's not something that I really talk about because I don't want to bring shame. Again, the word shame. to my mum. I don't want my mum to ever feel bad. But it was a volatile background. So I always said, I want to try my best to try and not bring so much uncomfortability to my kids.
Was it from your dad's side?
From my dad's side. I think that in itself was one of the things that I wanted to try and, with Matt, be on the same page with parenting. So, and Matt comes from a Jamaican Welsh background as well. And very similar values in terms of work hard, don't give up, try your best. And Matt's the deputy head now in education, and our 3 children are fantastic. We've parented them, the 2 girls, very similar. They're both very talented. Eden's at University of Florida doing pre-med and has aspirations to be at the next Olympics. And Reese, a triple jumper, has aspirations as well to be at the next Olympics.
Wow.
And
chip off the old block.
Yeah. And I don't do any coaching with her either. And our son Elijah is playing football at an academy level. And education's key. Education's key for opportunities. And that's what my mum's always pushed. It's what me and Matthew have always pushed. So we're very loving parents. And my kids still laugh now because I say, can I have my sniffs for the day? I sniff their cheeks and I bite them and I kiss them up. They're my babies. And I'm very grateful to have my babies.
If you ever got the sense that, I was having lunch with a friend recently who's very successful, but I got the sense that he as a father is quite pushy.
Yeah.
And he would say that if one of the sons is at boarding school and maybe said, I'm missing home, or actually, I just want to be in, I don't know, another career that isn't what you see for me, which is like a lawyer, doctor.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was like, no, waste of time,
Yeah.
And so where do you stand on, because obviously your kids are showing signs of being hugely successful, but if one or two of them decided, actually, no, I want to travel, or I don't want to do this, or something less status-led or prestigious, how would that make you feel? And how do you sort of navigate that kind of like success versus love versus pushy versus not?
It's a brilliant question. And somebody asked me this at the Beauty Beat event, what's success? And I'm like, what is success?
True.
So for me, it would be unpicking and unraveling. And success to me would be how you feel, how you show up, your happiness. And we can see already that it's my 2 girls are different to my son. Elijah's still very academic, but his interests are different and his nurturing needs difference. And he's got an amazing daddy that's with him all the time. And he says, my daddy's my best friend. And I'm like, Elijah, can I not be your best friend?
That's so cute.
But his daddy's his best friend. And I know Matt will say, son, and this is Matt's word, I don't care what you do, son, as long as you try your best. And that for me is, Elijah, just do your very best. And if your very best means you are the best baker in Usk, in South Wales, or the best barber in Cardiff, or the best musician in Monmouthshire, that's good enough for us. Because I want them to have the values. And what I've said is you've got to work hard. We always know, Sarah, it is black kids have to work 10 times harder. We have to be that little bit more polished. We can't make a foot wrong. So with that, knowing we have that as a baggage to carry already, I just want my children to be well mentally and physically. And both coming from sporting backgrounds, we know that sport leans itself towards being physically well, mentally well.
I'm going to ask another controversial question. Maybe it's controversial.
Too controversial, Sarah.
Do you think black families, do you think we have a problem where they're broken? Do you think we don't see enough black families that we, like being able to look at you guys, and I think it's hugely inspirational. And that's me saying that coming from, a mixed family.
Yeah.
And people might not know, it's so funny because I consider myself black, but I recognize that I'm obviously dual heritage and therefore my life is not the same as somebody else, right? So I'm not going to say I'm black and that's it, but I consider myself black, right? Yeah. But I'm going to say that as somebody who's dual heritage, sometimes you have this paranoia that people think, you're a sellout, you're with a white guy, da da da. And then it makes me want to go, oh, but you didn't see the black boyfriends that didn't work out with. And then then you start thinking, I'm too old for this, I don't really care, I'm just in love.
I'm in love with it,
right?
yeah.
That is sometimes what you navigate, this thought of people judging you.
Absolutely.
And so I just wonder, your thoughts on sort of the black family unit.
Babes, I'm going to say to you loud and proud, I'm beautifully happy that I'm married to a black man. and that my black family that people see, that's the reality. It's the real deal. What I would say about my family, which I'm exceptionally proud about, is we're here to break boundaries. We had a show on TV about our farmhouse, our grade 2 farmhouse. Because again, we want to show that it's possible for the black family. Because sometimes you don't see enough of it.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. You don't see the complete black family out there showcasing themselves, living in the countryside. You don't, and it doesn't mean we're perfect at all. It does mean we've had to work bloody hard. So we don't see enough black families, and I'm exceptionally proud. And it was my vision to be with a beautiful man, a black man. And I want to show off my king and tell the world that it's possible, because black men get a bad story behind them too. They do. There's some narratives around there that are wrong, and we don't really truly understand because we don't walk in their shoes every day.
So it's actually, let me pose something to you then. Someone on my team this morning, as I was saying that I wanted to talk about this with you, they said to me that a lot of their, and she's a woman of colour, and she said to me a lot of her friends, also black women, say, well, I'm going to date a white guy because I feel like these guys are not giving me the time of day. They're not patient enough, and they're not giving me what I want. They're not going to marry me. That this is me just quoting.
Quote.
Said today.
Yeah.
Do you think that is a reflection of the psychology of how a lot of women of colour feel, and therefore they don't end up in a black relationship?
Yeah, I think that narrative has been there. May I caveat that the guy I went out with before Matt was a white guy.
Right.
Just saying. And I think there's good and bad out there. I think there has been that narrative that black men haven't stepped up enough in the past. And it's harder to find a black man, and because we're in a country like the UK.
We are a minority as well.
We're a minority, let's be honest here.
Yeah.
So whereas you're more likely for Eden, our daughter in America, to find another black guy who's got the same mindset, vision, drive as her, because she's got more to choose from.
Do you think it is like nigh on impossible then in this country for somebody to find somebody who's on the same wavelength?
No, it's not nigh on impossible. It's not nigh on impossible, but it just means that you're going to have to be, if that's what you want, you're going to have to look for that. But again, I would always say to every woman out there, do what works for you.
Of course.
If you want to find a guy that's going to treat you nicely, regardless of his background, remember the most important thing, and I will say this, you have to have shared values.
Yeah, regardless of race.
Regardless of race, and we're going to a very difficult territory here, you've got to have shared values, because that's what's going to drive you when things are bad in a relationship.
So you think if you hadn't have had the shared values with Matthew, regardless of his colour,
I wouldn't have been with him. Got to have the shared values. And that's probably most important than anything else.
Good advice. Michelle, MGR, I love you. Thank you so much for coming on Hormones and Heroines.
Thank you, darling, for having me. And for all our listeners out there, thank you, guys. We're all on a journey of life. Make sure you're doing your very best. Don't beat yourself up. Be kind to yourself. And remember, we're all here to raise each other up.
Give me your favourite quote. Mine is, for example, do something today that your future self will thank you for.
Oh, God, I love that.
But since you're a coach and you just drop pure gems, I know you've got something.
Do what's within your gift.
That was the line you said to me when I reached out to you.
Do what's within your gift.
What does that mean?
And that means if it comes naturally to you to go and do something, go and do it. What's within your gift? What's within your lockup already that you can pass on to the next person?
And also, what's within your
capability? Of course, we've got control the controllables, but that's giving you a couple of quotes there.
Yeah.
But it's do what's within your gift right now, your capabilities. Where are you at with that? What's your capacity to give, to do? And it might be in your lockup already.
Give me an example.
For example, I say what's within my gift is to give to people right now. I can give. But there's times when I can't, and my capacity engine is low. So I'll step back and I'll say no, with courage and with strength. Unfortunately, I don't have the capacity to do that right now. So that again is within my gift to control how I'm feeling. And we are going to have times like that with hormones all over the place, with life changing, with demands from our elderly parents, with demands from our little ones, with demands from friends. Do what's within your gift at that time.
And when you said that to me, you sort of meant it in a way where it was like, you're having these symptoms that are overwhelming. What is within your control? What is it that, because these things you might have a flash that you can't control.
There you go.
But you can log stuff.
That's in your control.
You can change maybe what you're eating. You can make sure you're not doing this, that,
Absolutely.
the other.
You can get to bed a bit earlier.
Yeah.
For example, you can start to say, right, an hour before an alarm goes off on your clock, you are no longer taking any calls or watching any TV or going on Instagram scrolling. That's within your gift. Because everything else outside of that, what happens to your mum when your eyes are closed is out of your control. But within your gift is 10:30, I'm locking off. And letting people know around you, guys, I'm not being rude. I'm not ignoring you guys, but 10:30 is my do not disturb time.
And I think that's quite empowering, because I think in a world where things can feel very out of your control, very overwhelming, if you start to kind of be intentional about what you can control,
absolutely,
it's quite exciting, actually.
It's very exciting. Yeah. And my last one to close on, no means next opportunity.
Oh, mic drop. Thank you so much, MGR.
Love you.